Tucker's been headed. It's on the final 150 yards. Classical Dream and Kia moves on by Honey Tucker.
Hello and welcome to We're Going Chasing. We're delighted to have Rob with us here again for part 2 of our Robcour stable tour. If you haven't seen part 1, make sure to have a look back at our channel. It's the last video we posted last Monday. And in that video, we spoke to Rob about their open company horses and their bumper horses for the upcoming season. Today, we're obviously going to look at the Novice Hurdlers and Novice Chasers. But before we get into that, just a small bit of housekeeping. Next Monday is going to mark the first of our brand new performance rankings. It's essentially a totally new format for us. We're going to run through all the talking points of the previous weekends and essentially slot them into 3 different categories: green, amber, and red. Not only won't just be the horse, essentially. So you could have a trainer on form in the green, or you could have a jockey in the amber, or an owner, even a race course, or the BHA, or the IHRB. Any of these entities or people could find themselves in the green, amber, or red based on their performance. So please make sure to click subscribe there in the bottom corner of the video, and join us every Monday morning at 9 a.m. for the duration of the upcoming National Hunt season. Do we have any further bits of housekeeping before we get into it, Killian?
Yeah, I think the BHA are just constantly in red until we're told otherwise. Just assume they are in red. Like, I won't say I've got a set against them, but you certainly do, James. So we'll just keep them in red, and unless you're told they've moved out of the red, just assume they are still there. We mightn't talk about them, but they're known to be sitting in red.
Okay.
Jesus, boys, James is saying you can put owners in it as well. If you put us in the red, you can get fucked. I won't be giving you a third one next year anyway.
Yeah, also, on that point, lads, until you hear otherwise, Robcour are in the green. Constantly. But look, without further ado, Rob, talk to me. Practice run is a novice hurdler that you're going to have with Mouse this year, and it's a cliche with Mouse that he takes his time with these horses. He gives them a gentle introduction, and then they really come to fruition a small bit later down the line. Is that a cliche? Is it the reality? And then practice run this year, what sort of ambitions do you have for him?
Well, the old cliche is living up to its name here now, because we were talking the other day and he's going to be taken slowly. He's just, look, he's a point-to-point winner for Colin Bow. We bought him as a store. He's from a real good family, but he seems to be a bit of a nutter at the moment, and he's cooling down a bit now, but he's a horse where he wouldn't be the biggest in the world, so you'd be half wondering why we're doing this. It's just for the horse's attitude more than anything. But he's with the right man to take his time with him and get him to a good place. So, excuse me, it hasn't been decided yet whether he goes over hurdles or bumpers. But no, it's probably going to be a couple of runs this year and just take it slow. And the cliche is back anyway.
Good man, Mouse. Good man, Mouse.
So we move on to our next one, and we'll move over to Henry de Bromhead, to a horse called Slade Steel. Our viewers will be familiar with him from last season. Point-to-point winner, got a rating of 91 that day. Was really good at Punchestown before Christmas, beating a couple of really nice horses. Captain Cody, I think he was 6th in the Cheltenham bumper. Blizzard of Oz was 2nd in an entry bumper. Obviously bumped into a really, really good horse in Ballyburn at Punchestown then. He goes over this year. Where do you think he'll end up, and what distance would you be looking at?
Yeah, no, it's Jesus. He was one. I remember going into Punchestown like the year before. I thought Magic Days on the Thursday would have been our bet of the festival, and she ended up winning. And going in this year, I thought Slade Steel was a bet of the festival, and I didn't think he'd be beat. I remember talking to people on the day and said, no, this lad will win, even though all the talk for Ballyburn was there. And so look, Ballyburn half put us in our place. But if you actually watch the race back, we came wide. We came from off the pace completely. Like, it's it's one he probably nearly was good enough to finish second. He was probably the second best horse in the race, I'd say, taking nothing away from the horse that actually finished second. But I think he's one he'll thrive when he steps up and trip. I don't think he'll be a 2 miler anyway. He'll probably start over 2 miles and work his way up then, because that's what we and most trainers generally tend to do. And I'd say 2 mile 4 will be his bag now. And so look, if he starts off well, you can look at possibly. I know there's a couple of graded races over 2.5 miles. It's sort of December time, the end of November. But he's one he'll probably start off the start of November, I'd say, and then we'll see. But sorry, he's probably going to be the middle of November, I'd say. Like, he still hasn't gone away and done a proper piece of work, so he'll go and do that. But the vibes from the yard last year were really good. I know they thought he was certainly one of their better bumper horses. Henry doesn't train horses for bumpers. I know we ended up going 2-2 for him, and we'll talk about the second horse later on. But it's another old cliche out there. Speaking of cliches, as we were for the mouse, that Henry doesn't do bumpers. Barrett's the Gorn bumper for point-to-point winners. But Slade Steel was great last year. He actually won really snugly he won snugger than it looked in Punchestown that day in December. Like, if you actually look at it, John Gleeson gave him a great ride. He didn't use the whip once, and he won cosily enough. Like, he won hands and heels, even though the winning distance didn't actually look like he did. But yeah, he's a horse we think he's a fair bit of talent, and hopefully, while he mightn't be a grade 1 horse, you'd be disappointed if he wasn't a graded horse. So I think the followers should probably have their few quid in him once or twice this season, but maybe not the grade 1s.
Okay, and that brings us on then to the other bumper horse that Henry won with you for last year. Won by about 8 lengths. Factual Fact is his name. He had no point-to-point or French form either. He was bought as a store. I don't know if you were involved specifically with this horse in terms of picking him out at the sales and that, but is there any more satisfaction in buying a horse as a store when you don't have that form and seeing him come to fruition and potentially go on and win grade 1s, or does it matter?
Well, to be honest with you now, I had nothing to do with the purchasing of him. He wasn't actually a store. I don't mean to correct you. He was bought as a yearling. He was bought as a yearling. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Alex Elliott bought him, and he was bought in, I think it was book two possibly in Newmarket. I'd have to double check that. I'm double checking it now just to be sure. But yeah, no, Alex bought him. He won really well last year. We were kind of wondering what to do with him last year, because he wasn't really training well. He was in Henry's for a while, and then so we have a good. Luckily enough, we have a good old rapport with a couple of point men. We'd send them a couple of horses, and this lad actually went to Pat Doyle, would you believe? And he was with Pat Doyle for a good few weeks, and then went back to Henry's, and then went and won his bumper really well. I know the horse in second behind him was ran well in another bumper before, I guess, since without winning possibly. I think he ran behind a good, like what looked to be a good horse of Willie's during the summer, I think. And so look, he's not going to be a stayer. I'd say he's not going to be a 3 mile. He looks to have a bit of boot to him. He's going to be a 2 miler or 2.5 miler, and hopefully he shows a bit of class and kicks on again, that he can go and win a couple of races. It's one. Yeah. I wouldn't be saying he's going to be setting the world alight yet, but he should be good enough to win a couple of races anyway.
Okay, very good. And Killaney King, Fleming's first point-to-point winner. Who's he in training with?
He is with Henry. He's with Henry. Yeah, we bought him after he won his point-to-point. He bet who had he beaten it? He beat the 3 parts brother to Hurricane Fly. Well, he ended up winning by about 12 lengths or something. The holdings of that horse at the time, and I think he's now with Nicky. He's horse. If he can keep him down, like he's had a couple of issues last year. We ideally would have ran him in the point-to-point bumper in Gorn that Henry likes, but He had a couple of issues with his shins. He kept getting sore shins, but look, he's had a bit of a vet's looked at it and hopefully sorted it. And yeah, he'd be one for our more exciting ones this year. I'd say he's certainly one to keep on side. He seems to be working really, really well at home. I know they're really, really happy with him. So yeah, once he can stay sound, he could hopefully do a bit of damage. He might end up being one for the Lawlers, please God. In Naas, we've a good record in that in recent years. I think the last 3 years we've had the winner into the 2 seconds between Bob, Grand Jury, and Irish Point. So it's a race we've become real fond of. And he might just be the one for that, hopefully.
Well, that's great news. So next one then on our list is another horse with Henry, Garde La Peche, I'm going to say. French horse that was bought as a store by Point to Point handler, won a race point to point in Durrow by 12 lengths. He's same sire as a Plutarch Clan des Oboe. So where does he rank in the novice hurdlers and Henrys?
Yeah, she's a good one now. It's funny. It's I remember speaking to I was myself and the boss were speaking to an agent over the summer, and a well-regarded agent, and he was saying, yeah, Cap Guard is the sire you're alluding to there. Yeah. And it's funny, it's he was saying, yeah, it's one of their big beautiful horses, but you kind of want to see him do something on the track before you buy him, because they can either be really, really good or fairly middling. Like there's kind of just a little bit of inconsistency with them. But yeah, no, she's a grand old horse. She was bought in the Aintree sale this year. Look, she's a lovely filly. I wasn't there for buying her myself, so it was left up to Mags and Robbie Power. And look, she seems to be a nice mare. She'll go over hurdles this year. I'd say she wants a bit of a dig in the ground as well. So look, hopefully she can win a few races. And look, she hasn't really been in the yard long enough to, like, she would have won and then she would have got her summer break early soon enough after. So she hasn't been in that much work. But sure, look, hopefully she can take high enough rank, and I'd say she could end up being a 2.5 or 3 miler again.
That's great. So we'll move on to the next horse, and I think it's one that a lot of people were messaging our Twitter page about after the open morning in Henry's for the Dunmore RNLI. Massive horse on Tobar. I remember being down there that day, and like, geez, he looked. I'm not just saying this, but he actually looked the nicest horse in the yard. He's absolutely enormous. Looked really well. Unfortunately, he missed all of last year. But going back to his point to point, he absolutely hacked up. There's been so many winners out of that. Got a 94 rating. Obviously missing the year. He is the year older now. So is he going to be sticking to hurdles, or would you ever consider just going straight over fences?
We have toyed with the idea because he's a point to point winner by Gentle Wave, and as I said, he's so big. But no, he's going to stick to hurdles now. I think the worry with a lot of horses, he got a leg last year. So what people don't know, that's a tendon injury, and it depends on the degree of how the tendon's torn as to how severe the injury is. But no, he's one you're never really sure how they'll come back, but based on his pieces of work anyway, it hasn't taken too much out of him, thank God. So he went away and did a nice piece of work in the car there.
You're smiling away there. You seem
to
be struggling to hold it in there, Rob.
Yeah, I'm smiling away. But if you remember last year, I was smiling away for Gentleman's Game, and it ended up being the kiss of death. He got injured and missed the season. So I don't particularly want to do it for a horse that's already missed the season through injury. But yeah, no, he's 6 turning 7. He'll go hurdling. And sorry, I just have the dog behind me now. Yeah, he'll go hurdling. And look, if he'll probably start out over 2 miles, I think people might be a bit surprised with that. They might think because of the size he might be a stayer, and look, he works really well. I think a term used recently by someone we'd have a lot of trust in is, if he has a bit of boot, he could be anthem like. And that was after, that was in the last sort of couple of weeks. So,
Okay.
yeah, sure. Look, if he'll start off, if he gets beat, he gets beat. We can go up and trip. But yeah, he's probably the novice hurdler you'd want to be following the most out of ours this year. Now, it's a he could end
Okay.
up.
Wow.
I'd say he could end up winning the punters a few quid. Hopefully.
Okay. Cheers. That's a big statement, but look, is one that we'll follow keenly. So for the upcoming season, another horse that came from the point-to-point scene is Joueuse Royale. This fella had 2 starts and placed in both starts. He was trained by Colin Bowe. What was it that you saw in this filly that you really liked?
Well, we bought her as a star, would you believe it or not? That's why it's if you actually look at her form, she finished third, beating 10 lengths in a point, and then if you go back and watch the point she was second in, you'd wonder how in the name of God this filly has been beaten. Like she was a mile clear after the last and got beaten. Like yeah, she's one you nearly would have been surprised she ran in point to points. I know we're doing it. We're doing that for the sort of extra year of education for them rather than sending them straight into a big yard and they half get lost. Like, so it's the lads, the likes of, as I said, Pat Doyle and Colin Bowe and Dennis Murphy have been brilliant to us and taking the horses along and getting them results. And yeah, she's a small enough mare, which is why I said she wouldn't be your typical pointer. But I'd say she could end up. While she won't be, she may not be a graded horse. She might be a horse that has a good that wins her maiden and stuff like that. I know Colin has asked about her a few times to see how she's getting on. So while she wasn't winning, she obviously did something right that he's wanting to keep an eye on her. Like, but yeah, she's the mass marvel out of Santa mare for pedigree nerds like myself. You know, that's kind of a very, very fruitful cross. It's a very fruitful cross. It's one as soon as the catalogue came out last year, it's one we were looking at straight away. And funnily enough, Mags O'Toole was the one that actually signed for her in Arcana the year before. So Mags has bought this horse twice.
God.
So we'll move on to the next one, another filly called Look to the West. She was a Drummahan point-to-point winner by 10 lengths. She's a 5-year-old now. So does she go hurdling, and what's her ability like?
Yeah, she'll go hurdling all right. She won a mare's point to point after being beaten in her first point to point. Well, by I know it's a horse that a lot of people are looking forward to last year, Barry the Butcher. He fairly battered her first time out, and then she really came into her own in the second one. I'd say she's a nice bit of ability. She's a thorough stayer. She'd be a slow horse now, but she works well. I know who, I think it might have been Dara wrote her in work there a couple of weeks ago, I think, and he was happy with her. But yeah, no, she's an out and out 3-miler. She's one possibly in running in a. She'll probably start off in a 2.5 mile maiden, and then go up. But if she's beaten in her 2.5 mile maiden, I wouldn't be giving up on her. I think you won't be able to put enough furlongs in front of her to make it enough of the stamina test, really. Like she wouldn't be. She's no Constitution Hill, like
4 miles in the fence, so 2025
Grand
National Hunt
yeah.
Chase.
Sorry, 2025 Welsh National, yeah.
Yeah, so we move on to the next one, staying with Gordon, a hurdle winner in Auteuil called Golden Joy. So obviously he won his hurdle race in April. So is he only a novice until Christmas?
Yeah, that's it. He's a novice until December. Yeah, it's one of those. Jesus, if it's one of those. If he won a week later, it'd still be a novice for the entire season. Like, it's a bit of a killer. I think it's the 23rd of April or the 24th of April. One on, like, yeah. So that's a bit of a dose, all right. But yeah, no, he's a horse. If people go back and watch it, Jesus, he won very well there. And I suppose with the sire and the page, he's by a sire I'd never heard of at the time. It was the man that actually bought a Plutar, put him forward to us. I think the runner up or the third from that race has went down and won a Grade 3 since in Altai. So the form is certainly working out well. He won that by 10 lengths, and there's been a graded winner in behind him. So he's going to be one we take it slow with. He's in a similar boat to San Felicien, who a couple of years ago who wasn't a novice. There are a couple of 4-year-old races in November he'll probably go for. So if he wins one of those, you might look at Christmas with him in Limerick, the 4-year-old race there that Tiapu won a couple of years ago. I know one of the horses, and no looking back, James put up for his 10 to follow.
Yeah.
He won it. He beat Brazil in it this year, or this past season gone last December. That could be an option for him. But no, we're gonna be taking it slowly with him. It's Jason is the game for this lad, and anything that comes this season afterward, and this season in between is a bonus. Really, it's just about getting into next year.
Yeah, he's just looking at the sire here. It seems he's only had 10 runners over obstacles ever.
Yeah, he's a bit different, all right.
Yeah, it is different.
Being a bit different, it's probably costs a lot less than a lot of Altai winners. So
yeah,
that may work in our favor, that it's very, very different.
Yeah, the top rated horse was trained by Paul Nichols, Dormello Mo, and he was rated at his peak 147 over fences. So that bodes.
That's look, if he runs,
Yeah.
if he becomes a 147 horse, he's doing the job anyway.
Moving on from there, we've actually what I consider a very rare juvenile hurdler for Robcour, Conti. Only a 3-year-old, won in France by about 10 lengths. Very impressive. Is he one that you'd have a lot of high hopes for this year, or you think more longer term?
She is, yeah. She won in Campienne first time out. Jesus, you're grand. She's by a sire I'd have a small bit of a horn for at the moment in Caractère. I think he's very good. He's the sire of, I know, yeah, James, you put up Ile Francais for your 10 to follow, and he's the sire of him. I think in terms of winners to runners in France, I think he possibly might have had the most black type winners to runners last season. Like he's going really, really well. Yeah, she's a nice old horse. I think the plan for her is possibly to start off in the Winners of 2 juvenile hurdle in Down Royal, believe it or not, which is generally a race which Carden sends a horse he likes to. So she has to be doing something right at home. And so look, there's a nice old program for mares and juveniles. So hopefully, if she kicks on, if she wins that and she wins again, she might end up being one that you look at the DRF for the graded race there. Sorry, I'm flicking my hand just because I have a fucking fly annoying me here now. But yeah, no, she could look. She's one we think is nice. She'll probably start off in Down Royal, which is always a good sign, which is what you want when you have a horse with Gordon. And yeah, look, hopefully she can win a couple of races. She'll probably be a nice one.
Okay, yeah, very good. Moving on from that then, I think we have all your novice hurdlers covered. Guys, we've also got some news for you. We've struck a bit of a partnership with Hacked Up Horse Racing Gifts for the upcoming season. If you head over to the website, you'll see they have an array of goods, gifts, clothes, etc. On their website, all tailored to your favorite horses and owners' colours. Will be given away. We'll have regular giveaways with them throughout the upcoming season. Our first giveaway actually went live on Twitter just yesterday. So if you head over there, you can have a look. But one lucky winner is going to get a Cheltenham Festival planner, a hat, a t-shirt, a mug, and a pair of socks, all in your favourite colours. You can also enter by simply subscribing to this YouTube channel now while you're watching the video, and we'll give you an automatic entry into the draw. And one last thing on it, you can get 15% off at checkout if you use the discount code WGC15. And again, we've the details of that on the screen below. So lads, subscribe, an automatic entry into it, and the very best of luck. a look at the Novice Chasers. We're going to start off with Henry de Bromhead's Foxy Girl. She finished midfield in the Mayor's Novice Hurdle at Cheltenham last year. She's still only rated 123 over hurdles. I can imagine she can probably improve quite a bit over fences on that mark.
She probably could. It's good that you mentioned her mark, because I'd say she's actually. I know I hadn't told you this, which is fair to assume that she was going Novice Chasing. She's actually going to stay hurdling. It's a mark we think she's real juice on. She's a bit of a funny old horse. Like, she seems to be absolutely mad. Like, she just wants to run. She just wants to tear off and run really, really quick for as far as possible, and then fall into a hole. Like,
right.
But
Okay.
look, she could be one. She could be one for that old. Off that mark, I think she does have a bit more. She's a fair bit of juice in it. I'd say she could end up being a mid 130s horse, all being well. Like, so she could end up being one for sort of the Mayor's Handicap and Dublin Racing Festival. I know she was a short enough price for that when she was entered. Anyway, I think she might have been favoured for when the entries came out.
I think she was about 7-2 or something stupid. Yeah,
she was something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and she just happened to get injured. But yeah, I'd say that'll be the end goal for her this year. We think.
Okay.
She's a nice mare. She's a black type mare already, believe it or not. She was second in the Pre-Wild Monarch, the fillies version, in France, first time out. She was second in that to a mare that went on and won a couple more graded races. So hopefully, if and for people that know their French racing, they'll know that the male version of the Pre-Wild Monarch, there's 2 horses bought by the Donnellys this year from it, and they both seem to be highly rated. So it does generally tend to be a good old race.
Okay.
So we'll move on to our next one, staying with Henry. Novice Chasers. That's Hiddenvalley Lake. Impressive winner of a maiden in Naas last November. Was better again when winning a grade 3 in Cork over 3 miles. Beat Cool Survivor, Monbeg Park. Let's be clear about it. Went to Clonmel there to the Shore Hall. Was giving away £6 to a couple of nice horses in Monty Star. Search for Glory just got beat that day. The Bartlett didn't really go to plan. He was left off the rest of the year, but you'd imagine he's, like, it's a bit of a cliche, but he's definitely going to be a better chaser than he was a hurdler. You'd imagine. Big horse.
Yeah, you'd hope so. Anyway, he was going to win his point to point and got carried out, if you remember. Yeah, last year he's one I really wanted to buy. He won his maiden. I think going into his maiden, I thought he'd be beaten. He was running on the same day. That was a big day for us, actually. We had himself starting off with the big treble day. Himself, French Dynamite and the Paddy Power, and Grand Jury in the beginner's chase against 3 Stripe Life. And unfortunately, the 2 horses in that aren't with us anymore, which is a big pity, because I'd say they were both going to be grade 1 horses. But yeah, no, he was probably the one we least expected to win, and he ended up winning. Like, so yeah, we thought he was going to be a slow old boat. He went to Cork then, and Jesus, he was wicked impressive. Like, he won the grade 3 there, like, comfortably. So we went to Clonmel then. Excuse me, and went to Clonmel. Couldn't really see him being beaten. Ended up being a real tactical race. No one, I think, stamina is this lad's game, 100%. I think no one wanted to give him a lead. Monty Star ended up winning it. I'd say he's a bit of a fair old horse as well, but he could be one. Look, if he's not a grade 1 horse this year, he might be one for an Irish National or something like that. I know he pointed out that people saying putting up horses for the 4 miler, there is a real quick turnaround from the 4 miler to the Irish National, and if you're an Irish owner with an Irish horse that's not scandalously high in the marks, I don't see any reason why you'd go to the 4 miler rather than the Irish National. Like, the prestige of it, the prize money of it, I think, like, it's certainly Irish owners. Like, it's Irish owners and Irish followers are racing. Like, people don't remember 4 miler winners. People remember Irish National winners.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same for the English, or the English and the Grand National, and the Welsh for the Welsh National, the Scottish National.
Yeah. So
it's kind of, if he's not a grade 1 horse, he might be one for an Irish National. Can't see him going for a 4 miler. But yeah, hopefully he does end up being that grade 1 horse. if he turns up the horse he was in Cork that day, which was a good race. I know I like a couple of horses in behind it. Like, I think Cool Survivor is a horse that no one's spoken about this year. Geez, I think he could be a bit of a weapon over a fence. I think he was going to run. I think he was going to run really well in that Aintree race. But it's good old form. I'd say that race.
No, fair enough. So the next one is one we've actually touched on before as part of the 10 to Follow. So if you haven't looked at our 10 to Follow series, he's there in part 1. His name is San Felicien. He's trained by Gordon. He missed all of last year. He's some nice form over hurdles, and he's going chasing as well.
Yeah, he is. He's a nice old horse now. He missed last year. He just had a small bit of a kiss and spine. He was ready to rock, as said on your podcast at the 10 to Follow at the time. He's small this year. He's A1 now. He was in Robbie Powers. Robbie did a fantastic job with him. He went back there. He's a big, strong horse. He looks a man now. Whereas when he was running that season, when he was over hurdles, he looked like a boy. He's really matured, I'd say. I said if people want to go back and watch what I said about him in the 10 to Follow video you did, there's probably going to be a bit more information there. It's worth your while, but he should hopefully win his beginners and then might end up being a Drimmore horse.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Don't give out any information here. Make people go back and watch the 10 to Follow. Good tactic. Thanks. Over to you there, James, for the last one.
The last one then on our list is Heartwood. He's a horse you quite liked last year on this podcast. He was a 4-year-old chaser at the time, and he's still a novice because he only got out once last year in a beginner's chase, and he was second to Hollow Games. He's obviously won. This had a few issues in that, and things haven't been plain sailing for him. But how do you see this year panning out for him?
Yeah, he's a real nice horse now. To be honest, it's I know you put up a picture of him from Henry's Open days. So if people are wondering why he's called Heartwood, it's because he's a mark of a heart in his head.
We put the photo up here now. Actually,
yeah.
Yeah, you can stick the photo up there. It's a nice old photo. It's one people like it. Yeah, he was experienced enough when we bought him. He won a listed handicap hurdle in France just before we bought him. He was sort of a similar profile to a Plutar. Not saying he's similar in ability wise. He was just similar profile. He ran a blinder behind Hollow Games first time out. He's one I think he'll appreciate a step up and trip. He mightn't be a grade 1 horse, but Jesus, you'd be disappointed if he wasn't a grade 2 or a grade 3 horse this year. Now he should be winning. He should be winning his beginners without too much hassle. Bar he comes up against a bit of a weapon, and like I know Hollow Games, I think he might have been grade 1 placed after it. He was a real good horse the year before. And Heartwood hopefully wins a couple of races. Mightn't take top of the ranks in the novice chase division, but look, you should make a few quid if you back him, I'd say.
Yeah, he's still very young even to be going chasing. It's great to be having a horse and going chasing at 5 years of age when you're seeing some horses in bumpers at 6, like
which is great.
You know, so it's great to see that. That's sort of staying on brand, I think, with my views throughout all of last year. Hi Rob, just catching up with you there again now, since you've had 2 horses running over the last week that we probably planned to talk about. And secondly, you got a nice bit of business done over at the sales in France, I believe. So we'll get straight into it. First of all, with Shannon Royale. He ran in a 2-mile, 4-furlong maiden in Fairyhouse and finished second. He was 130 on the day, actually. So it's probably fair to assume that you were expecting a bit of a better run.
Yeah, we were disappointed with it now, to be honest with you. He probably only ran to about 107 or 108, which is well below what you would have been expecting based off his bumper and his point to point. But look, he's probably going to improve for it. Whether you think he's going to be a Cheltenham horse is a completely different thing. I don't think you can watch that and say, yeah, he's going to be competing in the graded races so far this or coming up this season, which is very disappointing. It's actually probably a good thing we saved this until after the actual recording, because when people watch the first one, they'll be joined onto this. They'll see I was half debating putting him in as my horse to follow, and then decided to go as with Irish Point instead. So yeah, no, very disappointing. But sure, look, we live to fight another day. Hopefully, based off his homework, he's good enough to win a maiden hurdle anyway. So we'll see. We'll try and do that and see where we go then.
Yeah, it could be a case of just him being a slow starter too, hopefully, because last year there was a big difference, I suppose, between his first bumper and his second bumper. So hopefully we'll just put it down to a bit of rustiness and we get an improved performance next time out. Secondly, on the same card, Rob, we had Zefiro Dodville. He went off favourite in the bumper and finished 5th. How satisfied were you with that for his first run under rules, and where do you see him going this year? Will he stick to bumpers, or will you be stepping him up over hurdles?
He's definitely going to go hurdling anyway. He was hard to gauge as to how he was going to go, because he's awful lazy at home. Like, so when they're like that, you don't know whether they're actually good and just saving themselves for the track, or whether they're just bad and slow.
Okay.
And I'd say he may just end up being the latter rather than the former. Yeah, he hung awful left at the same time. I think he's better than the run, even though I think he's not a world beater by any means, but he'll be going over hurdles. He'll be a 3-miler. You'll see, hopefully he can win a maiden. And I'd say similar to the two of them will probably end up chasing. Is going to be the game with them anyway. They're two. Zefiro Dodville won his point to point, and Shannon Royale was second behind a good horse in his point to point. So hopefully they're stout stayers and not just useless.
Okay, very good. And then finally, Rob, you were in action at the sales in France. You got a 3-year-old colt there named is it Wida or Vida? I'm not sure the pronunciation. He had some nice form there in France. He won a listed race, I believe, on the flat. Ran in a Group 2 as well. What trainer is lucky enough to get him, and has he landed in the yard yet?
Vida, yeah, that's him, all right. He's a Zarek out of an Italian mare. So while it doesn't scream jumps, they both be good dual purpose sires. So hopefully he should be able to jump anyway. He's gone to Henry. The plan is we're going to Gelding now, and we all think he'll improve for Gelding now. So hopefully he ran to 99 on time form and a 101 RPR on the flat in Longchamp the other day, finishing 7th in a Group 2. He was beaten 7 lengths or so, like that. Yeah, no, he's from a good jumping family. His half brother won for Gordon in Galway there, the bumper the other day, D Capo Amaxios. He's Vauban on the page, and he's Mass Marvel on the page, who wasn't a jump horse, but he's a super jump stallion. So hopefully he'll be able to kick on. We'll Gelding, we'll see where he is in sort of a month or two, but we'll make the call then as to whether we go juvenile hurdling or whether we save him for next year and go maiden hurdling. But yeah, no, he's an exciting one. He's one we think will be nice, and if we get him out this year, it'll probably be December, January time. But yeah, no, excited about him. He looks the real deal now.
Yeah, okay, very good. And with a horse like that, he's obviously race fit. He's been running recently in France. He's potentially probably in the middle of a season over there. What do you do with a horse like that when you bring him over? Do you do a bit of light work and then see maybe in a month's time decide, or will he just be sort of standing in a stable or in a field and taking it easy? Or what's the go-to there?
It differs. That's a good question, actually. So a lot of people don't know it differs between if you're buying a horse this time of year that's flat compared to jumps. Like if you're buying a jumps horse at the moment, they could have a small break and go straight into work. Like they probably would have been working for 2 or 3 months and then had their race. They've had all the groundwork done in terms of jumping. They can have a break when they travel and then get straight on into it. But with the flat horse now, he's as you said, he's in the middle of or towards the end of his campaign now, so he'll probably take a bit more time off, certainly 6 weeks to 2 months, really. I know I might have said a month there, but it'll be probably that, and you're going to have to Gelding as well, which means he's going to be on box rest for a couple of, well, he'll get that done, then probably going out is probably the best thing for him. It's the most natural thing for him anyway. And yeah, it's then when he comes in, it's not as simple as just, oh, sure, look, we'll put him in normal work and do our normal school. And, he's starting off from zero. So it'll probably take a bit longer than it would if it was a winner from Altai.
Yeah, okay. Well, with those juvenile hurdlers too, we often see the best of them out a bit later in the year anyway, December, January, for one reason or another. So by the sounds of it could be quite possible if this fella does go juvenile hurdling. It could be a similar course of action there. But look, Rob, that's all from us there. Thanks very much for joining us there today, just to give us an update on those 3 horses. And yeah, look, we'll be talking to you soon.
Yeah, perfect. Just so everyone knows, it's only James here because Killian wouldn't get out of the cot.
Exactly. That's a very, very important piece of information. We're at a quarter past 12 here Irish time, and Killian wrapped up in bed. There's no getting him up.
Yeah, he's not for moving now. To be fair to James, he let me get the morning work done, and then he stayed up so I could hop on. But no, Killian wasn't for moving. When he hits the cot, there's no moving.
I see actually there was a comment under part 1 of the video. He was compared to a Cheshire cat, which I thought was very, very apt and very accurate. But look, Killian will see this, I'm sure, when he wakens up, or possibly on Monday. But look, Rob, thanks very much for that, and all the best.
Spot on. Thanks a million.
But Rob, we're going to ask you for 3 horses now. And last year in the 3, they gave us Irish Point, a Grade 1 winner, and Gentleman's Game, who showed a fair level of form and was probably just unfortunate with injury really last year. But first of all, we're going to look for 2 horses to follow for the upcoming season. So if you can give us 2 names, that'd be great.
Just actually to go back, you touched on last year's horses, the ones I picked out to follow. Just because we didn't speak about him now, people might be wondering where he is. I mentioned Virginia Storm last year as well as a horse to follow for this year because he wasn't going to run last year. He's injured at the moment, so he had a bit of a rocking there, and he's out for the foreseeable anyway. So it's, if people are wondering that based off that, expecting him to be mentioned in this video, that's just why we didn't feel the need to talk about him, just because he probably won't be seen for a couple of months, like. So that's why. And then getting back to it, Jesus, who's going to be the 2 to follow this year? I'd say Tobar would have to be one. Hopefully he holds up sound and goes really well. Once he stays sound, we could have a nice horse there. And who do I want to be the second one that's somewhat known but outside the box, as Gentleman's Game was? Who is going to be the horse to follow this year? I'll put forward, it's not the same profile, it's just probably people when I'm speaking about him this year or now. Jesus Christ, who's going to be? Sorry, I'd say look, I'll go for 2. I'll go for 2 years in a row in terms of who's going to win. Who's going to win lads money? I'd say Irish Point will have a profitable year. Hopefully he goes down Royal and wins. I'll stick with him 2 years in a row. He didn't steer me wrong last year. Hopefully he does the same this year. If he says the trip, if he says 3 miles, he could end up winning a Grade 1 in either, say, in Leopardstown or in the UK, the long walk possibly. So hopefully.
Okay, very good. So we've got on Tobar, Novice Hurdler, and Irish Point, an open company hurdler, and hopefully he can follow up with another Grade 1 like we had last year. And then 1 anti-post Cheltenham pick, please, Rob. You might know the prices there off the top of your head, but if you were to pick out 1 horse now,
for us,
yeah,
for us or someone else,
yeah, for yourself, yeah.
Tiapu Stairs Hurdle 12 to 1.
Tiapu Stair 12 to 1. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
It's savage price, is it?
Savage price.
In today's market,
give me a chance. He won't be 12 to 1 much longer.
No, it's a mad price. Like,
he
was tired in it last year. He's probably, it's a division that doesn't have too much in it. He's probably the up and comer in it. Like, There's some horses in it. There's some horses in it that are a bit of a fucking mad price now, and I'd say he's he's more than double the price of certain horses, and I'd say they have to get to his level. He doesn't have to get to their level.
I know you won't say it, but I will. I'm looking at Barry Orr's Betfair Exchange here, and there's a certain mare shorter than him, and it's a disgrace. So you can find that out yourselves. You can get 115 quid at 15. Marie's Rock.
Oh, Marie's Rock. Sure. Look, she's a grand old horse. Like,
yeah,
I was thinking. Yeah, I was thinking.
Again, you won't say it, but I will.
Look, she's a grand old horse. No, it's. I wouldn't write her off yet in it. I know she's a horse. She could end up thriving over 3 miles. Like, I know they were tying with it last year, but look, I think he's the one to beat, and he's the one to beat in the division, in my opinion, anyway.
But look, Rob, thanks very much for your time. You've given us great insight there, and I'm sure our listeners have also found it extremely beneficial. But myself and Killian really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us, particularly out there in Australia and that, and you're busy with work, and by the looks of it, you're having a few beers there, and you're going to head out.
I just finished the Saturday shift, so yeah, no, out in the Armand Park, so out and living the high life in Scone.
Yeah, well, look, please, God, you can build on the success you've had in previous seasons in the upcoming season, and the very best to look for the upcoming season. That's all from us on the Robcour interviews. Lads, finally, next Monday, we've got our first week of the performance rankings. Don't forget, BHA firmly in the red, Robcour firmly in the green. And lads, we'll see you next week. Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Second's been headed. It's on the final 150 yards. Classical Dream and Kia moves on by Honey Chasers. To the line. To the upper on the near side of the